Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode we pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on VOD. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, and we battle it out to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time, according to two film geeks from Wiltshire, England. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a review and subscribe. Hello, Podsters. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. This week, as Jungle Cruise is a cruising into cinemas this week.
It's a rocking into cinemas.
And one of the stars of that film is Emily Blunt. So we'll be picking our favourite films of her work. And as always, I am joined by the Mr. Encyclopedia Man. That is, of course, Boaz Dix. How are you, sir?
Terrible. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm always good.
My film is A Quiet Place. I really didn't have much struggle with this one. It was a really easy choice. You know, when I decided we were doing Emily Blunt films, I was like, Quiet Place. Didn't really have to think about it much. Yeah. So, yeah. And then when I looked, I was like, oh, Sicario's good. I could have picked that one, but I think arguably it's probably a best performance maybe in a film. But yeah, ultimately I went with A Quiet Place. So just such a great concept for a horror film. I'm horror films, so, you know, it was just really easy. Did you like this one?
Oh, yeah, this was tremendous. First time I watched it was actually not that long ago. We went to see Quiet Place 2, and I hadn't watched the first one. So I watched the first one, and then went to the cinemas to watch the second one with you. And, great film. First one was great, and also I recommend anybody that can watch it in the theaters or buy it or whatever. The second one is also really good. It's a really good sequel.
I would say possibly better as well. Yeah, and that's a high bar as well. We've only seen it once, the second one, but
we've only seen it once, but it was tremendous fun, and I do think I would say it's slightly better, which is great, and is kind of a rarity to hear about a sequel, you know, to a big budget film, especially if it's like this was like medium budget, do you know what I mean? And then it was like they gave them more of a budget, and sometimes that doesn't play over too well, but I thought it did really well. The director is pretty good. So.
John Krasinski from The Office, The American Office. Right, what happens in A Quiet Place then? Well, a family called the Abbotts are like creeping around a pharmacy, and you're not sure why they're not making much noise at all, which seems to be a very post-apocalyptic world. And then a horrifying incident happens where their youngest child, Bo, nicks a space shuttle that makes lots of noise as they're walking home.
Not a real space shuttle, though.
No, a toy space shuttle, obviously. A giant alien runs ridiculously quick and takes him out, and you're like, oh shit, this is proper dangerous. So, and you soon realise they have really, really acute hearing. So if you make the slightest noise, they will come after you and try and kill you. Yeah, which is such a great concept for a horror film, and I can't believe it's not been done before.
Yeah. They're also completely bulletproof, although, you know, they can't see or smell. So hearing is incredible.
And then there's this kind of really interesting subplot with her daughter, the fact that you can't hear, she's deaf, and because she uses a hearing aid, that kind of creates a lot of feedback and kind of fights against the aliens, and it goes from there really, and they fight them back using that. So it's a really interesting film, really, really quite brilliant, I would say. Right, directing then. There's a lot of great moments, especially, you know, some really interesting ones too, with the opening scene in the pharmacy where we establish that this family can't make noise for some reason, and with the daughter's perspective, you just hear this drone like we're underwater to establish she's deaf. But when the little boy like walks towards the family with the toy space shuttle, we hear that drone again, but it's kind of mixed with the score to create this great tension and establish that making a loud noise is fatal, and you know, and that whole scene is kind of driven by the music the music basically tells you that, you know, he's doing something very wrong. It's just a really nice shot where the camera's behind him and as he walks slowly towards them, and John Krasinski, who plays Lee, is basically like, oh, no, stop. Let's take the batteries out. It's a great way of mixing everything, but especially the music, to establish this concept really early on. It's really clever.
The thing that this director really does well is like tension. Yeah, the direction for tension is just incredible. There are all these scenes where I think we kind of mentioned it when we were talking about M. Night Shyamalan and Signs. And there were parts of this that reminded me of that, like in the cornfield. But the way he does tension and just how frequently is just kind of amazing, where you're like, yeah, there's something wrong here. I'm not sure what. Oh no, you know, there's a kind of build-up to a lot of things and just an amazing sort of tense payoff.
The tension building works really well with switching perspectives between all the other characters and the daughter who's deaf, because when we cut to her, you can't hear anything. It's like sometimes there are scenes that are dead silent. You realise this the most is, again, at the start when the kid takes the shuttle, the space shuttle, and the batteries, and the music that follows it is quite somber. Like the film is telling us it's coming soon, something's going to happen, you know. And what I like about the attack is that Lee Abbott, the father, played by John Krasinski, hears the toy go off, but then we cut to Regan Abbott, the daughter, played by Millicent Simmons, in silence. She's in complete silence, and she learns what's going on by what the father is doing by running back to the kid. You know, again, the whole scene is driven by music as well. Yeah, it's just a really clever way of intercutting perspectives there. One of my favourite bits as well, there's a great shot of Noah Jupe, who plays Marcus, the boy, when he's walking back from the waterfall, and you see like an old man stand up in the background out of focus, and he walks into the back of Lee, you know, as he sees the guy, the old man, you know, just a really great shot there. And then when he screams and they run off again, and, you know, then the music basically takes over, which makes the scene amazing again. The composer is Marco Beltrami, who's done quite a lot of stuff, actually. It's just I really love the score in this film. Yeah. When you do get score, you know. And also in that you see the alien a little bit clearer as well, which I always love in like a monster film like this, where you gradually through the film you get to see the monster a little by little, you know.
Yeah.
You can see it more and more as the film goes through. Yeah,
true. I would say, like, that's my one criticism of how they revealed the monsters in this film, is I do agree, you know, I like taking my time. You know, it's scarier, kind of the unknown, and when you reveal the creature. I do feel like the reveal, I don't know, I think the creature is revealed a bit too soon. I would have probably done it a lot later, you know, when it
oh, really?
You know, was wandering around the house. Right. I think I would have introduced its form then. I think you saw quite a bit of it, even though it was like, you know, quick flashes of it, you know, killing the boy and then killing the old man. And it's quick, it goes by, but you still get a good look at it. I mean, later you see that it can undo its head like an onion. But so in those two scenes, even before it's like a threat to them, and it, you know, it goes into their house and it becomes like a sort of Home Alone, you know, scary sort of house intruder, but that's an alien. By that point, I've already seen the beast. I know what it is, yeah? I get to see more of it, and there's a great... Yeah. I just think it would have been a lot more scary if that was, like, the first time I ever got a full look at it, was when it invaded the home.
I didn't really feel that, to be honest. I think when the old man gets attacked, it's very slight, you know. You just see a bit of his arm and maybe his head, like, go really quick, so...
Yeah, but I think that's kind of enough. He's mostly arm and head. It's just, you know, I think you get a kind of a good enough look at it, and I think it could have been even slighter or just not see it at all.
Maybe, yeah. I think for me, the fact that because the concept is so strong, the fact that these monsters will get you if you make sound, if you make noise, that's what's in your head when you're watching it. You don't, you know, that's where you get the scares from, like, not what it looks like.
Yeah, no, I would say you get the scares as we were talking about before, and we can... I'll build up on right now. I think the scares and the fear comes from the tension. The tension building in this film is just incredible. That's where you're getting most of it, and it keeps that tension going, like, constantly. I would say that, for me, is where, you know, the fear came in this film, but not from the creature itself. That's a kind of thing in this film, and again, I don't want to overly criticize. I've got to be critical where I can be critical, but the actual creature itself, I wasn't like too scared of. And I'm saying in other films they've done it better with, in my opinion, just more ambiguity to the look of the creature, the feel of the creature, and its design until much, much later. Just I don't think it does that. You get enough good looks of it. But the tension is incredible. I think that's the saving grace of this film. One, it's an amazing concept. These creatures, conceptually are quite frightening. They're invincible. Basically, the slightest noise and they'll chop you in half.
Yeah.
But the tension building's great. So I'm going to say this one scene that I quite liked the build up to. And it just kept going. You thought, oh my god, this. But it's like when she leaves that nail out, and it's a kind of Chekhov's gun moment where she pulls that nail through the board, and the camera just looks at this nail, and you're like, whoa, why is that? Other stuff happens. She goes to turn on the lights for the family and stuff, and boom, steps on the nail, and you're like, oh crap, she's trying to scream, but she covers her mouth. It's like, and you're like, holy shit, yeah? And then you're like, oh, okay, tension's gone. Creature is upstairs. You're like, oh my god. It kept building it. She's got to hide in the bathroom. Blood is pouring out of her. The creature is going up this, and you just like the tension just keeps going. You're like, holy crap. And then it was like she screams. You're like, oh my god, she's gonna die. Fireworks. It's going after the kid, and it just kept going. The rest of the film was like that, where you're like, from that point on, it's like it's a good film. Before that, there's a lot of the characters are good and the script is good and what have you, but the way the tension is directed from that point, I would say, from like the nail point onwards, it's just like, holy shit. I've never been like more at the edge of my seat for an entire hour. That was really well directed, yeah. I just can't believe it. It's like, that was incredible. It just never let up. I thought that was amazing. When you think it was letting up, like something else would happen, and like that's how you kind of direct fear, It's like, you don't give the audience respite. It's like, oh, they're out of the woods. No, they're fucking not. And kept doing that throughout, so that was good.
I did have some debate of like what my favourite shot was, one in particular jump scare, or that one that you're describing as she steps on the nail, because it's coming. They've set it up. The way the shot is done, it's really impressive. The way she walks down the stairs of the basement, and there's a great like tilt tracking shot as she's walking down the stairs from her face to her feet, and I'm like, no, stop. And then on the nail, and it's just like, I felt her pain so much.
So did I.
Plus she's in labor. Plus she's trying not to scream.
Yeah. I think that was amazingly done, just because there's so much going on at the same time with her. Like, her contractions have started. The little girl isn't there to help out. She's gone. She's slept over by the graveside. It's getting dark. Dad's not home. All this other shit. And they've been setting up the nail. I think had they not done any of that, and she just stepped on a nail, I probably wouldn't have felt it. But I think you're right. She steps on the nail. Just the entire scene, the build-up to that scene, the scene itself, and how painful it looked as well, the acting. You're just like, it was a really painful moment just to witness. You're like, oh my god. Just her stepping on a nail. I mean, there have been worse calamities in movies, but that is, to me, it just sticks in my head as like, I've seen worse stuff, but I don't think anything that's made me kind of wince as much as that. I really felt it.
Yeah, it's just that particular shot where you go from her face to the foot as it just slowly tilts down and tracks down her body to boom. The timing is really great, tracking her body to foot to nail, There's a lot of great jump scares in this, and I love the fact that a lot of the jump scares come from the human characters and not the alien itself. I think my favourite jump scare is when, all the fireworks are going off and Lee is running to the house and sees all the blood in the bathtub, and you're like, oh, where's Evelyn? And you're thinking, is she dead? Has she got out? All right. Has she given birth? And Lee is quite emotional, and he begins to sit down, and then boom, bloody hand hits the shower door. And it works well because the background is just blurry and it looks like nothing. It could just be a wall, and you don't expect anything to happen in that moment at all. It's just really, really well done, that.
Yeah, there are so many scenes that were just like, just really well designed and just coming, one after the other. It's just incredible. Also, I felt a hell of a lot of tension, because they're being chased by these creatures all over the bloody place. And you think the boy is going to get caught and he runs into like a tire or something. The girl, I love that scene of, again, the noise fades out, because she's deaf. and there's the thing is right behind her. It is right behind her, and it is coming up. So, and you're just like, run, turn around.
Yeah.
But she is completely oblivious. And that's also where you get, the thing that saves her, a huge plot point that's in, is her hearing aid that starts to go on the fritz. Yeah, the feedback, which freaks off the creature.
Have you got a favourite jump scare?
Favourite jump scare? I don't know of like a jump scare.
The raccoons, they were fucking annoying.
Yeah, the raccoons, I suppose. I would say, where you get those scares where it doesn't make you jump, but you feel like a cold down your back, where you're just like...
Oh, right, yeah.
It's usually things where they come out of nowhere, but it's not loud, so you don't have that jump response, but you do have a reaction. I think one of that for me was... So I'd say a jump scare was where you hear the footsteps of the thing in the house, after she's started bleeding, and she goes out and you hear the thing make noise because it's walking through the house. I think that made me jump a bit. But also, she's had the baby, and they're in the safe room under the barn, and he's gone out to find the kids, and it starts flooding, and just when she gets up and you see something in the corner and it's just moving, and you're like, holy shit, that's the creature. Like, to me, that sent a chill down my spine. That to me, I think that stuck in my head as like a really good scare of just like, oh my god, it's here. And to me, that just came out of nowhere. I'm like, oh shit, it's in the safest place that they could have gone to. Yeah, that really freaked me out.
I liked the last scene. It's great where throughout the film, when we're with Regan, the daughter, and she has her hearing aid out, and there's silence, and at the end, when the alien arrives at the basement, the suspense is like super high, music is intense, loads of sound effects from the alien clicking, and then cut to Regan and there's absolute silence. And as she works out, the alien's weakness on the whiteboard and on all Abbott's Lee's work, it feels like a really long time before we get the sound back. And to do that, like in your climactic scene and not lose any tension is like really impressive for me. Really ballsy to have that much silence in such an intense scene. And plus the shotgun reload at the end is really badass as hell.
Yeah.
From Emily Blunt.
Yeah, definitely. It's really cool. The sound design is really good. And I do love the usage of her deafness and what I suppose call like these kind of strange transitions, but they're not visual transitions, but auditory transitions, where you have like from her deafness to the noise of the outside world, like what she's hearing and then going into what the other characters hear. And I really love that, of just going like it's silent for her and then something happens and it's just the noise sort of bleeds back in. And I just think that's incredible.
I think, as I said, that's probably the best moment of that is at the last scene,
Yeah, that's a really good moment of it. But yeah, I mean, they do it a few times, and I'm always I always just think it's not really something I've heard before, and it's just quite nice. It's just like everything is, very quiet, muted. She's got this sort of ringing, and then something will happen, and then just all the noise just bleeds back in. I just love that. Or like like where the creature attacked the car. I like that. Her hearing aid was irritating her, turned it off. And then it smashes the window. But it's so great because you don't hear anything. But then you just hear the smash. And then that kind of lets in all the other noise. I thought that was just amazingly done.
Favourite shot?
So I would say either the nail or where the creature is like... She sees it in the corner of the panic room. And then it dives in the water. I thought that was a pretty cool scene. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
That was pretty freaky.
That was a great scene, yeah. It's all like red and stuff.
Yeah. So maybe actually I'll say that's kind of my favourite scene, and then, or maybe tie that with the nail scene. Like they were both very tense.
So score, what are you going with for directing?
Oh yeah, I'll go like really, really high. It's a visual and auditory blast, I'll go like 9.5.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I really, really liked it.
That's a really high score. I think I'm not sure I would go as high as that.
Yeah, you don't have to. Not forcing.
But I still probably keep it in the 9s. I mean, the suspense is really well done. I mean, the whole concept is brilliant. And for a first-time director in John Krasinski, I think he does an incredible job. So, again, the jump scares work really well. The tension works super well. So I'll go like 9.2, I think. Right, screenplay then. I quite like the little dance Evelyn has, played by Emily Blunt, and Lee has in the basement. It's really cute and nice, but I feel like it's important to include in a film like this to show that they love each other, because just showing them saving each other because they're a family isn't enough for me, and you need like tender moments for the audience to really care for the characters. And that scene just shows it brilliantly, how they're just sharing earbuds, listening to the music and have a little dance. That was just well done. That
I like his relationship with his daughter. I don't it's not the healthiest, but I just like that arc.
Yeah.
Of like, you can tell he's not kind of treating her with the same sort of affection as maybe he used to. And she blames herself for what happened, and she thinks he blames her for what happened to the youngest son. I like that through the whole film of all this insanity and like nearly getting killed many times, and how he sacrifices his life for them. But I love how he just looks at her and is like, I love you so much, sign, then just screams and then just lets himself die.
Yeah.
That was just amazing.
Oh, that's always so like, oh my God.
I wonder if I would do that in that situation, like sacrifice myself for my family. If I would just go like, the hell with it.
I'm sure you would.
I'll just run. I don't know.
No. It'd be silly.
I'll make more kids.
Because obviously he stops her from going into the basement, and Lee tries to give her the hearing aid with the new amplifier, but she stops him because she signs that it never works, and she keeps batting his hand away, and Lee ends up just putting it in her hand. And, later Lee doesn't let her go to the waterfall because he needs to take his son instead to learn about, this world. And Regan just feels so frustrated that she can't help more because she can't hear anything. And, so he just wants to keep her safe as much as possible. And plus, as you said, there's this element of the fact that she was partly to blame for the baby brother's death. So there's guilt there too, and Lee is just trying to do everything he can to keep his family safe. And obviously Regan's character just feels so frustrated that she can't help more. So it's just such a great dynamic between those two. I would say as well, like, there's tremendous guilt from the whole family, especially, with Emily Blunt's character as well. Because she does blame herself as well, because she says, she could have carried him, her hands were free. And she says to Lee, who are we if we can't protect them? Who are we? You have to protect them. Promise me you will protect them. And it's like she can't carry on if she loses any more children. She can't take this anymore. We have to do anything possible to protect their children. And obviously, as you said, Lee gives his life to save them. And it's interesting they don't really get a response to that. They just cut it there. They don't let Lee have a response. So you get the reveal that he gives his life. And, there's not a lot of lines in this, obviously, because you can't make noise. But my favourite line, well, the only line of meaning, I mean, the one I just said, but you mentioned, I love you, I've always loved you, in Lee's death scene is just so heartbreaking. It always makes me quite emotional. It's such a great moment. But what's great about it is, for Regan, that's all she wanted to hear this whole time, because their relationship has been difficult. Regan has never been sure about how her father felt towards her. And obviously, as adults, of course, we know he loves her, but she doesn't
she needs to hear
necessarily know that because she's a kid. Yeah. And I think we forget that in films like this as kids. Our emotions are all over the place, sometimes with our relationships with family, even more so in this post-apocalyptic world. Yeah. So, I mean, is that your favourite line as well?
Yeah, that's my favourite line. He has a conversation with, his son when they're by the waterfall, which I thought was a sweet moment as well, where he reveals to his son that you can talk and you can be as loud as you like by the waterfall. Like, where he shouts and then his kid is like, what the fuck? Like, he's so scared. He's like, no, it's fine. It's all right.
Yeah.
Which must have been great because, I think it's been over a year. I think they said 400 days. So for 400 days, this kid has not had the chance to speak. That must be amazing.
What have they been doing, seriously?
Yeah, I know. So I just kind of like that, what was it? He talks to his son, and he's like, do you blame her? He's like, no, of course not. Do you love her? It's like, yeah, but, she needs to hear that. So he kind of does give a pep talk to his dad. It's like, listen, You should say it.
Just say you love her.
Say
That's
it,
it.
yeah,
That's all
yeah.
you need to say.
Yeah. That's what he's kind of pep talking his dad. But I love it because it's like that's the last words he says. You know, it's just poetic, man.
Screenplay score, what are you going with?
Yeah. I thought it was really good. Now, this is going to sound insane, I suppose, mainly because of how tense the ending was. And, you know, there was a lot going on. But I felt it could have been a little longer, you know? Yeah, my kind of opinion. I sort of, I did want kind of more scenes with the family, even if it's like you do that stuff a little later. You just have them chill just a little bit longer before everything goes down. I think I would have appreciated that a little more. Yeah.
What, like more like the dance scene, which I talked about?
Yeah, you know, the dance scene. You know, their dynamic. Maybe just going out a few more times. Maybe just a little more tension between him and his daughter. It's just stuff like that. Just maybe just a little more.
Okay.
I kind of would have appreciated more. Not that I'm being ungrateful. I think it was really good. I just could have, you know, and it was sad when he died. And I'm not saying like, you know, it wasn't sad or whatever, or they didn't build it up. I think but if they had built it up even more, God, I would have been, you know, soaked. I would have been drenched, you know. But it felt like I didn't have like enough time, I think, with him, you know, especially like John Krasinski's character, even just the family as a whole, just enough time with them before everything hit the fan. I kind of would appreciate that a bit more.
Really?
But that's my only it's a small gripe in the scheme of things, but it's the gripe I kind of have with it. I think, you know, maybe just add on an extra 15, 20 minutes, just have stuff happen before that.
Score?
I think the standout thing for me is the directing, but the script is really good. So I think I'm veering to 8.9.
Well, I can't really agree, to be honest. I think 90 minutes was actually perfect for this film, and I think the acting for me is good enough and so good that you get all that, you get all the emotions. I didn't feel like I needed more. I think the balance between family stuff and tension building, the balance was there. I think it was really well done, and I guess with you're wanting more. You're left feeling wanting more.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I felt very satisfied at the end. I think there was enough. There was a really nice scene where Emily Blunt is teaching her son maths. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I thought that was
You know, I think the balance was there, to be honest. And because the performances and writing is so good, I didn't feel that, to be honest. So I personally think the screenplay is better than the directing. Yes, the tension building is really good, but I think this whole idea is so simple and so brilliant and executed so well, and that comes from the writing first.
Okay.
I would say, so I'll go like 9.3.
Nice.
For me. Right, acting then. I mean, they act scared, like, really well.
Yes.
Like, shit scared.
Yeah, they do.
You know, when the kids are playing Monopoly and Marcus knocks over the oil lantern and Lee puts the fire out and he's just frozen still, waiting to see if something's going to get them. You know, they look shit scared. It's brilliant. Plus, the raccoons falling off the roof really made me jump. Then the alien killing them made me jump even more, to be honest. I was like, I've completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When you rewatch stuff, I'm just feeling like I forget about the jump scares. You forget about some. You're like, oh shit, I did not remember that. You just remember the ones that scared you the most.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the one where Emily Blunt puts her hand on the side of the shower door. I always remember that, so I kind of felt it coming. But with the others, I just completely forgot. I think because it comes early in the film, it just made me shit my pants, quite frankly. I didn't actually do that, by the way. I didn't, but just a metaphor.
He wasn't wearing any pants.
It's so hot, so
yeah, it's just free-for-all shit. Air it out.
Oh, God. But one of the standout performances for me is Millicent Simmons, the deaf character who plays the deaf daughter, who's actually deaf in real life. So it's great that she gets a role like this. So when she puts the new hearing aid on that her dad made her, but it still doesn't work, and she's clicking her fingers, and she takes a few beats before she starts to scrunch up her face, and she kind of stops herself from crying. Really skilled acting for me, because if she starts crying just as she realizes it doesn't work, it would seem fake, the crying and the emotion there. So I think it's just great judgment to realize that in her acting. I thought she was magnificent in this film.
Yeah, I agree. I think she was really good.
And then there's a great moment at the end when Millicent Simmons walks down into the basement and sees the tireless work her father has gone through to help her hear again and find out what he can about the aliens is amazing. She has this incredible proud look on her face as tears come down her face, and smiles and then breaks down in tears because her father's gone. You know, this realization that her father did love her so much, like the rest of her family. It's just such a brilliant, like, satisfying moment for her character at the end. She's brilliant.
Yeah, I think they were all really good, which is great because it's such a tight film with, you know, just that family as the actors.
Favorite performance then?
Maybe Emily Blunt. Yeah, I think Emily Blunt. While she doesn't really get like a lot to sort of say, I think she's still pretty damn good. She goes through a lot of pain.
Yeah, again, I like everyone really.
Yeah.
But I think I'll probably go with Emily Blunt as well. Yeah, Millie Simmons is brilliant as well, but I've got to give it to Emily Blunt. You know, when the alien is in the house and Emily Blunt is like looking shit scared whilst going into labour and trying not to make a sound. Incredible acting for me. So,
and she's got a hole in her foot.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I think,
I try not to scream.
Yeah, definitely.
Because of 2 reasons of pain.
Yeah. But I think she does a good job of, like, you could see it in her eyes and just in the quiver of her lip and just, like, you know, it just feels real. It just kind of sells it. So, yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, acting score, Mr. Encyclopedia Man.
Fucking hell. I'll give this, like, a 9.1.2.
9.2. It's a high scoring movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, man. That's the thing. Like, all the tender moments as well was brilliantly portrayed in this film, which I think makes it work for me on a incredible level. So, as well as all them looking convincing, being scared. So, I mean, I was completely convinced that they were a family. I really did. So, yeah, I'll go like 9.1, I think. Yeah, and Emily Blunt is just tremendous. All of them.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't talked about John Krasinski much as an actor in this film, but he's just brilliant as well. So, right, let's add up the scores then for A Quiet Place.
I didn't know John Krasinski was married to Emily Blunt.
Yeah.
My God, I'm learning so much. I knew nothing of John Krasinski.
About this film.
Now I have learned so much about John Krasinski. I've learned he directed this. Didn't know that.
Yeah, so I think your name as Encyclopedia Man is waning slowly.
When it comes to, I told you, fiction, I'm all over that shit. Fact,
A Quiet Place gets a whopping 55.2. Good luck, Edge of Tomorrow. That's all I can say. Let me just see the leaderboard, see where it is. A Quiet Place gets second.
Really?
Jesus.
Wow, that's high.
At the moment. Just behind Silence of the Lambs. So, your film then, Boaz, what are you going for?
I am
this
going
week?
for Edge of Tomorrow with Emily Blunt and Tom Cruise.
Nice.
Yes.
So why did you pick this one?
I had watched this when I was at university, when it came out, actually. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. You know, went to the movies, watched it. I thought, wow, that was cool. There was kind of no buzz around it, which is a shame. I thought it was a really good film. Great blockbuster. With a really boring name, to be honest with you, like Edge of Tomorrow. I keep forgetting the movie's name. It's such a dull name.
The comic book title is...
All You Need Is Kill.
Yeah, All You Need Is Kill.
Yeah. They should
But
call
apparently
it
it's called like Live, Die, Repeat now, so I have no idea what it's called, to be honest.
Yeah, I think a lot of people renamed it Live, Die, Repeat because that was the slogan. That was the slogan for the movie, and it's more memorable than the title of the movie. So I think a lot of people just call it that.
Yeah, because on my DVD cover, it's basically Edge of Tomorrow / Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah.
I was just like, make up your mind what the title of your film is.
Just Groundhog Day with aliens. Just call it that.
Yeah. So, what happens in Edge of Tomorrow?
So, in the film, whatever the hell you want to call this film, it's about like an alien invasion. Tom Cruise is a major in the US Army, and he's more of a recruitment guy. He's never seen combat, really. He's kind of like a pencil-pushing officer. They have a large offensive to attack the aliens who have taken over France or whatever, taken up a lot of Europe, and Britain is like one of the only countries left. And he's kind of ordered to be on the front lines, but he's kind of a coward. He's like, I don't want to, fight on the front lines. Are you crazy? And so he tries to blackmail the general and he has him forcefully detained and then taken to the front lines as a private and put with like a bunch of new guys. And so it's his first day on the job. He has no idea what the hell he's doing. He's in this mech suit thing. They carry out their attack, but they're ambushed by the aliens who knew they were coming. He dies in the attack, and you think that would be the end of the film, but it's not. He kills one of the aliens, and the blood, it's a different looking alien than the others. It's like a big blue one.
An alpha.
The blood seeps into his, face, into his eyes, into his mouth. And when the blood goes into him, he wakes up and it's the beginning of the day. He's basically rewound time to the start of the day. It's his first day as private. The whole day has been repeated again.
Yeah.
Goes through that, dies again on the beach, comes back. It's just it's like Groundhog Day. It is Groundhog Day, basically. Just keeps coming back again.
Yeah.
So he meets up with Emily Blunt, who's used to be a like war hero in the same war, and it turns out she had the same thing happen to her.
Rita Fatasky.
Yeah, the Angel of Verdun. And so they team up to try and use his power to, end the war, because it turns out that these alien species, the reason why he can travel back in time is it's in their blood. That's how they're able to win all their battles. When it's not going their way, they just restart the day and start kicking ass. But now he's got that power. So yeah, that's kind of that's basically what the film is.
Nice. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. This is directed by Doug Liman, who is very much a director that's very spontaneous. If you look at the DVD extras, he's mainly just playing tennis and not really talking about the film. He's basically one of these directors that just shows up on set and just decides what he's going to do on the day.
Wow.
He's very spontaneous and doesn't do that much prep. He's like, right, we're going to put the camera here today and do this. So it's just extraordinary how he directs this film of such a huge scale. It's just like, my God, I couldn't make a film like that at all.
Yeah, I bet he was kind of the producers may have thought he was a pain in the ass, This is a lot of money to just we'll do that.
Totally. Like, I need more tennis rackets.
Yeah. Have we got a plan this week? No idea. Got no idea what I'm doing. But yeah, no, I mean, that's an interesting thing to hear. I think even despite all that, it's a pretty cool film. So, everybody has their own method.
Because it definitely has this very, maybe he did this on purpose, because, the directing does have a very, off-the-cuff feel to it. It's, there's a lot of, shaky cam and just kind of cameras popping up where you don't expect it sometimes. So it does work in the sense of the battle scenes. So directing, speaking of the battle scenes, I like the opening scene where Cage, it comes tumbling down the cable from the helicopter carrier. There's explosions and soldiers everywhere, all done in this very handheld style, to completely disorient you, to put yourself in Cage's shoes. And Kimmel's death is hilarious as the helicopter carrier just falls on him after he's celebrating, I've made it, and dead. I like the design of, when Cage dies in the close-up for the first time, with the black eyes and the blackness kind of all around his head. And it's certainly very interesting. And you just get this sense that something's not right here. Something's happening to him that's not normal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely really creepy. It looks like he's possessed or he's slash melting. It looks pretty awful. And then he just, boom, he starts the day again. No explanation. I love that. That was a great opening, introduction to this power.
I'm not sure I liked the design of the aliens, though. They're very tentacly.
I was going to mention this.
And very fast moving in the action, and it's actually very difficult to figure out what they actually look like. But when they do a close up, on the Alpha near the start, they looked really cool. Yeah. But if you asked me to draw a picture of what they look like, I wouldn't know where to start.
I completely agree with you. I think where this film falls slightly short of being, do you know what I mean? I do still really like this film, and I think the action is great, and I think the story is amazing. I think the story of this film is just incredible. But yeah, the aliens are, I think, where this film really does miss the mark. They just look odd, And again, I agree with you. You can't really put your... It's not it's not, it's they just look glitchy and it's like if you wrapped a load of, wires, if you put some wires in your pocket and they all get tangled and shit, as if like you just threw that at somebody. Kind of looks what it. It's like just
that's what they look like.
It's just like a bundle of nonsense.
Yeah.
You don't even know what the hell's attacking you. It's like, what the hell is this? It just looks like a bunch of cables.
Yeah. You don't know where it begins and ends, you know.
When they actually have the alphas show up and they stay the fuck still, their face looks great. You know, the growl of their face. The other ones, the betas or whatever, don't have a face. You don't know what the hell it is. You know, it's just it's not threatening. It's confusing. So I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
They're just
with that.
yellow and black or whatever.
Yeah.
Orangey yellow.
Just yellow and black extension cords. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was kind of disappointed with that.
I love the commitment to make pretty much all of Tom Cruise's deaths really funny. The helicopter carrier falls on him. He gets run over by a truck. When he does press ups and decides to roll under some trucks and gets it very wrong, all you hear is screaming and a crunch. It's all of it. It's just really funny.
I like that with the sergeant of like, what the hell were you thinking? And then it gets us do it again.
Yeah, Bill Paxton is great in this.
Yeah. Or his training with Emily Blunt. And like every time, I like the bit where he breaks his spine, where he like gets hit so hard. He's like, "Are you okay?" It's like, "I can't move anything but my lips," and so she just shoots him in the head. But yeah, I love that because even he's broken his leg. He's like, "No, I'm okay." It's like, you broke your leg. Okay.
And there's another bit where he's like, "Oh, I can still feel my toes. Stop."
Yeah, it's like, okay, go on.
But I have serious issue with the training, though, because I think it's really harsh on Cage, because he's using this machine gun and he's missing, you know, the twirly targets horribly. And then Rita comes along with it and takes out all the targets with this great big fuck-off giant sword, you know, and I'm like, why can't Cage have a sword? He might be really good with a sword. You don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's just really harsh.
Yeah, true, exactly.
Give him a sword.
Yeah, level the playing field.
As he can't shoot for shit.
Yeah. Although, towards the end, I just love how he just gets better and better and better throughout the film. And especially that scene where, I think in the original time, you know, first go around, his platoon are ambushed and then they're, you know, killed. And then in one of the, you know, goes around that he does it, he just appears there and just, like, runs around the walls, you know, around the foxhole walls, as just shooting the shit out of all the monsters coming up.
Oh, that's so cool.
That was cool. I really like that.
That was cool.
Just like his progress of like, I can walk on walls.
I think that's my favorite action scene, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't have a particular favorite shot. I just have a favorite action scene, and that's my favorite. I think when like Cage is all trained up, it's all really cool. But you still have like the shaky cam, but you see the suits being used to their full potential. You know, killing the mimics with ease, just really cool. And it's always satisfying to see a character at the start who's completely useless and then being awesome. You know, in this case in combat. I think that's certainly my favorite action scene.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a culmination from the first time he was on that beach and what his character was like then to, you know, just the growth. For, you know, I do think that's a great scene of like, he's kicking so much ass, you know, just shooting things and punching them to death. And it's just incredible.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, you start this film, he was a complete coward, you know, and didn't know what the hell he was doing. From everybody's point of view, this is his first day on the job, and he is just, you know, just decimating the enemy. I think that was incredible.
I mean, I like the climax to the film because the tone is like very different. You know, if Cage dies, he actually dies.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's like it turns into like a guys on a mission movie too at this point, which felt cool. But I kind of wished like some of them survived for a bit longer as they crossed the river at the end. And the action just looked really nice. Like at night, it looked really amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I liked the blues of the sky and stuff like that. And even though the mimics look a bit shit, but like the red of the mimics just skipping on the water and then the fire and stuff looked really cool. The last action scene.
Yeah,
and definitely, I love
cool.
how they up the stakes. It's like, he can die now. That's great. A favorite scene in particular. I think one scene that was quite interesting is actually the second time he met an alpha, you know, where it goes through like, you know, he keeps getting these like visions, and he goes to that place finally. It takes him absolutely ages in the film to actually get to, you know, the place where he thinks like the alpha, you know, the main like brain of the aliens is.
Omega.
And it turns out to be a trap. And I like that, like, every time he tries to kill himself, like, the alpha, like, slapped his gun out of his hand. So he's like, shit, this is a trap. I quite like that. I thought that was amazing.
So directing score for me, I think, Doug Liman does a good job, but there's no, like, particular direction or signature that he gives this film.
Yeah.
I think the strongest element is probably the screenplay, possibly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think I'll agree with that.
The direction's good, but I'm like
anybody could have directed it.
There's nothing like spectacular. Yeah. Everything that's spectacular in the film is like the CGI and the acting at times. It's fine, so I'll give it like a 7.8. How about you, sir?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, my favorite thing in this film is the screenplay and, the action. But I think you're right. If you give this to any other director, they'd make the same film. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you don't see anything like unique about it or that stand out.
There's no like sense of style.
There's
just
exactly.
shaky cam and that's about it.
Yeah, basically, there's nothing that you can really sort of latch onto and go, I like the usage that he kept doing of this or this technique. I thought that was a bit peculiar. I've never really seen that before. It's like, no, it's shot. It's shot how it's shot. It's shot like you would shoot, like anybody would shoot a film. So I agree with you there. Because I was thinking like in the realms of maybe an 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where I'll kind of, or maybe a 7.9.
Right, screenplay then. I guess one of the disappointing things about the screenplay for me was the exposition scene. You may as well just had a sign up saying, hello, guys, this is the exposition scene now, because it's just Rita and Dr. Carter just explaining to Cage what's going on. And I wish it was just a bit more creative than just 3 people talking in a room about the plot. What they could have done maybe is with like Cage actually telling them the plot and how the Omega works, because then he's been there already, and then it's up to them to believe him, completely kind of thing. But terrific presentation though, terrific.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the first time he meets him because he's like, oh wait, so you can, how many fingers am I holding up? It's like, how the hell should I know that? It's like, oh, this is the first time we've met. But then every later time, he's just like, you've got 2 fingers. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just he's prepped. You've got 2 fingers behind your back.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, move on. Yeah, stop with the stupid questions. Maybe I slightly agree with the exposition. I mean, there's going to have to be exposition. Maybe the fact that it happened to her before.
It's just a bit boring, really.
Yeah, I suppose. But when that's out of the way, you can just get on with it. When you go to the script, I do like the story. I think it's a great idea. Groundhog Day, but with an alien invasion. I mean, who the hell would have thought of mixing those two together? I love the sense of, like, again, progression for the characters, but also just, like, the sense of, like, what the hell has he been through? Like, it just feels like a sense of time in this film. Like, he must have been fighting this war for years. You really get that feeling of, like, he must be weathered, you know what I mean? And it's funny. It's also quite a funny film, so I quite appreciate that. The sergeant is fucking hilarious. I love that line of, you're from the US, aren't you? And he goes, no, sir, I'm from Kentucky.
Nope, Kentucky.
Yeah.
After about an hour into the film, when like Rita and Cage are traveling to Germany to find the Omega, they kind of end like the repeating day concept for the audience. But Cage now is like way ahead of the audience, and only Cage knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And the audience and Rita are left guessing what's going to happen. I love that subtle way they do it in the script. At the start, we, the audience, know exactly what events are going to occur.
Yeah.
But then near the end, only Cage knows. The audience has to catch up. So I thought that was really clever how they worked that into the script.
I thought that was a brilliant twist. Because as you're saying, you're basically with Cage every time. And then when they finally get on the mission, and it's like, you've seen, he keeps failing to get past the beach. He's always complaining about it. They finally get past the beach. They get into the cars. They fight their way, through the countryside into Germany. They're at a little house and stuff. And I love the reveal of like, yeah, no, I've done this many, many times. She clocks on really quickly because he knows how many sugars she'll have in her coffee. It's like, when the hell have you ever made me coffee?
Yeah. It's
like, we've been here before, haven't we? It's like, how many times have we been? It's like, and I just love that reveal of like, he must have done this. You've already seen him go through hundreds of restart. He must have done this thousands of times by now. He's so ahead of everyone, even her. Yeah, I thought that was a really good reveal. That must be really horrible for him because from her perspective, she rarely kind of knows him, but he's seen her die like thousands of times.
Yeah, I liked Tom Cruise's performance in that scene in the farmhouse with a helicopter in the back. And there's no particular moment in that scene, but his acting is weird throughout, because obviously he knows something we and Rita don't know, and Cage obviously does, you know, when giving Rita 3 sugars in her coffee, and it's just that whole scene. Tom is really good with his body language, you know, and everything he's saying, you know, I'm hiding something important. Emily Blunt is great too when Rita finally twigs something is not right, and Cage has been there loads of times. Just a really great performance from Tom Cruise there. Just something's just off, you know, in that scene.
Yeah, you can tell he's not being truthful.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Oh, I love when he actually they find out they need to go to the general's office and get some, you know, MacGuffin device to find the Omega, which he has. The general has locked in a vault. And I love that, like, sneaking past the guards because Tom knows what he's going to do. And then having a conversation with the general is like, you're not going to believe me when I say this. And he literally predicts everything that's going to happen. And he finally believes him and gives him the device. And then she's like...
You're bound to have a scene like that in this film.
Yeah, but I love that where... Because you get a few scenes, like, he's been through it so much. He knows everything that's going to happen. So he's basically surprised... He's not surprising the audience so much, he's surprising the other character. And I quite like that.
Because he tries to do it, obviously, at the start with the guys at the barracks, because he tries to do that, but it doesn't work very well.
No, the sergeant just doesn't give a shit. Yeah.
You know, I think in the second one, and he's like, points to one guy, and it's like, I don't know your name, you don't talk very much.
Yeah.
You know, but obviously in that scene with the general, it's so slick and smooth. He knows how to do it properly this time.
But I really like it because he's like, you won't believe me when I tell you da 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 this, and then you'd think da 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 you'd say this, but you won't believe me when I tell you. And I just quite like that. But he eventually gets the device, and I just love the comedy of that moment of Emily goes like, "What now?" and she goes, "We've never gone this far before. I've got no idea. This is the first time he's actually trusted me."
Yeah.
But that was really
That was good. It's interesting when Rita mentions to Cage that she's lost the power once because she was bleeding out, and then the next thing she knew was that she was given, you know, blood to survive and lost the power, and it was kind of inevitable that Cage was going to lose the power at some stage in this film, and you can see it coming, but you kind of need that anyway to ramp up the stakes. In the final moments of the film, the fact that, you know, Cage can actually die now. They have all the information they need to know this time, but they can't die. They mustn't die, you know. So it works well, but predictable.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, but I will say this. I like how he lost his power, because you know it's probably going to happen at some point, but I like that it's escaping from the army rather than fighting the aliens. I kind of wasn't seeing that coming. It's like they're on an escape from the army. They get it.
Yeah.
And it's actually the army that, like, wounds him so hard. Yeah, I kind of assumed he would get attacked, like, later.
Because I think he knew it was going to happen at some stage, but he didn't know how.
Yeah.
You know, or when.
And I thought it was surprising that it happened then. To me, I knew it was going to happen. I liked that they did it, that it was the army that did it. Because it's like, you know, he's probably not going to get in a shootout with the army. He does, and they fuck him up. And, yeah. Oh, and then obviously the ending... you know what? I'm going to say I like the ending, even though I think it's kind of weird. And you could have made it a sad ending and literally had him die. But they kind of give this one where he's dead. He is fucking dead. He is drowning.
You're never going to let Tom Cruise
blows up the Omega. And then its blood gets into him. It's like, shit, here we go again. But he basically starts like the week again or something. He goes right back, you know, right back to when he touched in London.
Yeah.
And, oh, shit, okay, great. Nobody died.
It's interesting where they cut the last shot of this film, though, for me, when Cage walks up to Rita after he gets his powers back, and just ends on Cage chuckling after Rita says, "What do you want?" You know, and I thought you would want some sort of scene of recognition for Rita's character that they did it, they won, because she's left completely in the dark about how they win the war. You know, maybe they cut it there for the audience to imagine that conversation for themselves, maybe. I don't know, but I just felt a little bit unsatisfied in that moment for Rita's character, because I was like, surely just a little scene of like Tom just saying we did it, and she smiles or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I just felt like, oh, really?
I think if there was going to be that scene, it should have been like when they were on the mission, and then he should have, killed the Omega, and he's dying, she's dying. This is how I would have done it differently. He's dying and she's dying. Then he says, we've done it to her. She dies, he dies. He resurrects, gets the blood back, and then have that ending the same. Because then, he's not even talking to the same woman, really.
Oh, right.
Like, at the end, when he goes and... But I do kind of agree, like, Rita doesn't get this sort of satisfying, she's done it moment. I would have had the future Rita, the Rita who actually goes with him to assault the place, have her arc sort of, oh, we've done it, she smiles or whatever, and then, and either they survive it or she dies, and then you just have the same ending.
Oh, what? So you mean they both get the power back at the end?
Yeah, maybe. Or something like that. But I think when you're saying if he were to go to her at the end and say we've done it, she would have no fucking clue what he's talking about. She doesn't remember him. She doesn't know him.
Yeah, but she's done the Verdun stuff already, so she's had the power.
Yeah.
The, repeating day power already.
Yeah. I suppose then he just... Yeah. But he's had enough conversations with her like that already through the film. Of just like, who are you, soldier? Listen,
yeah, I guess so.
I know, how you got the power. I got the power. Okay, great. Let's, maybe you don't need to hear it again.
Right. Funny line section. There's some good lines in this. If he tries to run, feel free to dissuade him until he can't piss standing up. Bill Paxton as Sergeant Farrell. Oi, mate, I think there's something wrong with your suit. Yeah, there's a dead guy in it. Fastest time running backwards forward, slipping in your own shit. First of all, this is a terrific presentation. Terrific.
Yeah.
That's probably my favourite.
Oh, actually, do you remember the line where he was like, what if I give the power to you? And she's like, I've tried that. Nothing seems to work. You can't transfer it.
Oh, yeah.
Goes, have you tried everything? It's like, yeah. How about, like doing motions for, it's like sex, It's like,
no.
It never works. It's like, maybe you haven't tried it enough. And then, she launches that thing at him. And, gets crushed against the wall. I thought that was funny. That was really funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
Always got to have a sex joke.
You've got to have sex jokes, man. Sex jokes make the world go around.
Score then for me for screenplay, I'll go with... Yeah, I love the idea. It's a great idea. Some of it's a bit predictable. But I think one of my favourite bits is that, Tom Cruise's character gets ahead of the audience, which I really like that bit, and I love how that was subtly put in. So that was kind of clever. So I'll go like solid 8, I think.
Yeah.
Have you got a favourite line, sorry?
The bit, you're from the US, no, I'm from Kentucky. I think that's quite funny.
What's score?
Yeah, but I'm going to go really high, actually, because I just adore the screenplay. So I'm going to go like...
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, this might shock you, actually. I'm going to go like 9.6.
Really?
Yeah, predictable, but funny as fuck.
Not that bloody good.
I
really?
like it, man. I like it. I'm not gonna...
Right.
I'm not gonna...
Okay.
Fence with you here. I fucking like the screenplay, man. I think it's really, really enjoyable. Yeah.
I just feel like some of the characters are a bit... Well, they're good, but some of them aren't very integral. The exposition scene I have a problem with.
I like the idea. I think it's funny. I like the characters. I like Tom Cruise. I like Emily Blunt's character. I like the growth in the film. I like the ending. I like, what else do I like? I like the JSOC guys, the J Squad or whatever, like the sergeant. Yeah, there's exposition, and I like some of the twists. I like more things that I don't like in this screenplay, so I'm not gonna, whatever. Yeah, it's a dumb action film, but I fucking like the screenplay. I'm not moving on. It's really enjoyable. They're definitely one of my favorites.
I guess for me, it's more like half and half, maybe slightly more in favour, but there are issues for me.
Okay,
so,
fine.
Right, acting then. I mean, I love the acting from Brendan Gleeson, who plays General Brigham, who has a meeting with Major Cage at the start and tells him he's going to the front line in France to film like the action because he's a media military officer, in advertising. And Cage thinks it's optional and he declines, and Brigham says it's an order, and Gleason's face just doesn't change at all. It's just quite funny.
Yeah.
Just very stone-faced. This is very straightforward situation for him. He just wants it done out of the way. And like Cruise is like, hang on, come again. What?
Yeah.
I thought that was just quite a charming scene there.
Yeah, I thought that was great. He is really unlikable, the general. Yeah, it's just a kind of complete stoic jackass or whatever.
Yeah. But I love the moment when Cruise turns on like the badass mode when he decides to go it alone. When he's getting like suited up, he says, "I need 3 more clips of 5.56, 8 grenades, and an extra battery. Get it." Just really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Tom Cruise does that stuff in all his films really well.
Yeah. Emily Blunt is pretty good.
Yeah, because she has this kind of like badassness to her as well, but she has certainly this very much a vulnerability to her as well, which I quite enjoyed.
Yeah.
That she mixes the two very well.
I think when they got to the farmhouse and she sort of realizes, one, she's being tricked, and that two, she will not make it to, end the war and what have you, that she looks, I don't know, I can't even really describe what her face looks like. It's like a sort of anger and disappointment, like a, unbelieving, ability to it, sort of sadness. I just like that, it's just quite a nuanced.
Because obviously Tom Cruise's character has like vulnerability to him as well, but in like a comedic way.
Yeah. So
it's kind of nice to have that contrast that they both have vulnerability, but with Cruise it's for laughs, and for Emily Blunt it's serious. Yeah. Favorite performance? I gotta go Tom Cruise really, because you very rarely see him do comedy that much. I think he does the comedy stuff really well. Yeah, and just having this progression from just this idiot, really, military guy, so naive, then to turn into this really great badass guy. And that particular scene in the farmhouse where something's just not right, you can just feel it in his body language. I just really enjoyed that scene as well. So score for me, I'm going to go solid 8 as well, I think. How about you, sir?
I think I agree with you. Tom Cruise, I think, would be my choice as my favorite, actor in the film. And I do love the development of his character. I mean, we spoke about this in the screenplay, but how Tom Cruise portrays that is just wonderful. Just how he, as you were saying, just how he goes from kind of like being happy and so I don't know. He's very much a coward, and as you said, just has no fucking clue what he's doing. Yeah,
yeah.
And so from this kind of wimp who talks too much and is trying to weasel himself out of things, to at the end, this, just absolute badass. It looks like he's been through Vietnam or something. Like, just at the end, he looks really kind of grizzled and he's had enough. He's not as chatty. And I just love how all that's portrayed. It's like, it's a lot more, he just becomes a badass. Just becomes awesome. And I do like that development, and I think that's done really well.
Yeah.
I'm going to go maybe like 8.6.
Trying to defend his film as much as he can.
I will, definitely. I'll defend it with all the ammunition.
Right, let's add up the scores then for Edge of Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow gets a very respectable score of 49.9. We were very generous with A Quiet Place, but I think deservedly so with 55.2. So A Quiet Place wins this episode for Emily Blunt Films. Right, next week as The Suicide Squad, James Gunn's new comic book film, which looks amazing.
It does.
So we'll be focusing on R-rated comic book films. So, not just superhero films, but comic book films. So there's a nice few films to choose from there. So it'll be interesting to see what we go with. Right, as always, Boaz, you have been incredible.
Wow. I don't know what to say. Promoted me again. I want to rewind time just a little bit, get some of those Tommy powers so I could hear that again. That's really made my week. Thanks.
All right.
Yes, I'm incredible.
All right. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Don't push your luck. That's it for this week's pod. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to find out more about the podcast or suggest future topics for us to discuss related to upcoming releases, let us know on Instagram at Film vs. Film Podcast and on Twitter at FVF_podcast. Remember, please subscribe. Pod signing off.